On October 17th, a rocket slammed into the parking lot of Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza City. Hamas would soon accuse Israel of attacking the hospital, killing over 500 civilians. This would turn out to be false. Figuring out exactly what happened can be complex and time-consuming, but it's critically important. So here's what happened. Let's start off with the timeline. At 6:59 p.m., a barrage of about 10 rockets were fired at Israel from Gaza, triggering sirens across Israel, including cities as far as Tel Aviv. Reports immediately emerged.
Reports from the Hamas-run health ministry that as many as 500, possibly more, killed in this airstrike. I've spoken to the IDF tonight. They are saying they're looking into it.
Within under half an hour, Hamas began to report that the hospital has been attacked by the IDF, with the casualty count climbing dramatically. But here's the thing, figuring out exactly what happened in such a complex environment takes time. Way more than 30 minutes. Here's how the IDF analyzed what happened. When reports emerged of the hospital being hit, the IDF immediately began to investigate. We looked at three things. The first was reviewing all operational activity taking place at the time. The second was analyzing radar footage and other operational capabilities the IDF has. The third was carefully reviewing intelligence sources. Again, this takes time. But at 12:39, the IDF released its official statement, concluding that the hospital had been hit by rockets fired by the Islamic Jihad. Let's start with the hospital. This is aerial footage of what the hospital looked like a few days ago. Here's what it looked like the night of the attack. Now here's what it looks like today. You'll notice that there is damage here on the tile roof of the hospital, but that the primary point of impact is the parking lot. The building itself remains intact. This is even clearer when looking at this footage taking the following day. Here's something else that sticks out. Aerial strikes leave telltale signs, namely cratering and structural damage to nearby buildings. Depending on the type of aerial ammunition, you would typically see fairly large craters. Here's the hospital parking lot again. No craters, buildings intact. So where did the rocket come from? Given the local production of many of Jihad's rockets, it is not uncommon for rockets to misfire. As a matter of fact, as of October 21st, about 450 of the 6,500 rockets that were fired at Israeli civilians landed inside Gaza. Here's a picture of where those rockets were fired from. IDF radar footage shows quite clearly that at the exact time that the hospital was hit, rockets were being fired from a cemetery towards Israel, and that those rockets were fired right by the hospital. So this picture, for example, presents what you would expect to see when a rocket that still has propellant lands during its boost phase, and that fuel catches fire. Again, in this picture, all the surrounding buildings are intact. So what do we have so far? We have clear proof that aerial munitions were not used there. We have the Islamic Jihad firing rockets right near the hospital, and a track record of failed launches. So the IDF knows that the hospital was ruined by an Islamic Jihad rocket. Hamas knew this was not an Israeli strike. But it did not stop them from trying to turn this into a massive media frenzy. Now make no mistake, loss of life is tragic. The IDF has taken every feasible measure to mitigate damage to civilians in Gaza, including facilitating evacuations, all while Israeli civilians remain under attack. Hamas, meanwhile, has taken every effort to target Israeli civilians and hide behind Gazans.
Innocent Palestinian families, and the vast majority have nothing to do with Hamas. They're being used as human shields.
This takes time to verify, and sometimes the story can move around the world before it becomes clear. But the level amount of evidence today leaves very little room for doubt. In the age of misinformation, we all have a duty to check our sources. Don't be a part of the problem.